Webflow is powerful on its own, but most real-world websites don't operate alone. They connect to CRMs, analytics tools, databases, marketing platforms, and so much more. Maybe you want form submissions on your Webflow site to trigger an automation in Zapier, or you want data from Airtable to show up inside your Webflow site automatically. APIs are what makes those connections possible. An API, or Application Programming Interface, defines how different tools talk to each other and what they are allowed to ask for. They are what power Webflow apps and custom integrations to other tools. Webflow's APIs give teams access to different parts of a site, including CMS content, pages, assets, forms, design, so they can create, update, retrieve, and manage those data programmatically. At a high level, there are two sites. One tool asking for something, and another tool that owns the data. When one tool wants something, it sends a request to a specific endpoint, which is basically a defined address on the other tool. That request says what the action wants to perform, includes any necessary data, and sends along a token that has permission to make that request. The receiving tool checks everything and then sends back a response, either the data that was requested, a confirmation that the action worked, or an error if something went wrong. That back and forth is an API request and response. And that pattern powers almost every integration you use. For example, imagine someone fills out a form on your Webflow site. That submission triggers an API request to your CRM, sending the person's name and email to a specific endpoint. The CRM processes it and responds confirming the contact was created. And if you're not a developer, you can use tools like Zapier, Make, and even Webflow Apps to accomplish certain tasks. They handle the API requests behind the scenes. You just connect the platforms and define the workflow, and the tool does the talking for you. But if you are a developer, you might build a custom application that makes those requests directly. In those cases, the process usually looks something like this. First, you identify which Webflow APIs you need, whether that's the CMS API, the Sites API, assets, or something else. Next, you generate an API token with the appropriate permissions. That token controls what your application is allowed to read or update, so it's important to scope it correctly and keep it secure. Then, you write code that sends requests to Webflow's API endpoints, defining the action you want to perform and including the necessary data. That code needs to live somewhere, so you need to host it on a server or something like Webflow Cloud. Finally, test and monitor your application, ensuring it handles the responses from Webflow, whether that's confirming success, returning the data, or managing errors. And with that direct access comes more flexibility. You can sync large volumes of CMS content, integrate with internal systems, or build fully customized workflows. But unlike apps or automation tools, your team is responsible for the implementation, hosting, monitoring, and long-term maintenance. Webflow's developer documentation walks through these steps and so much more about connecting to other tools. So be sure to check those out if you're considering a custom integration. Again, you do not need to memorize these technical details, but understanding this flow makes it much easier to recognize what's happening when Webflow connects to other tools. Now, APIs are powerful, but creating a custom API integration is not always the first option you should go to. If there is a Webflow app that already does what you need, start there. For a simple automation, tools like Zapier or Make may be all you need. So before investing time in a custom solution, take a quick look at the Webflow app marketplace, because there may be a chance someone's already built what you need. Think of custom API integrations as the more advanced option. They give you flexibility and control, but they also come with more setup and maintenance, often outside of Webflow. This may be when you should bring in a more technical teammate, especially when dealing with custom authentication, complex multi-step logic, or working with sensitive data. But as someone building in Webflow, you already understand the structure, content, and design of the site. That context is incredibly valuable. And even if you're not writing code yourself, understanding how APIs work at a high level helps you collaborate more effectively with engineers and developers, and it will inform you to make better decisions about extensibility overall.